It wasn't just a mistake. It was an ambush. I mean, this was a plan. This was a politically calculated ambush from all sides, right? No one would feel comfortable walking into an environment like that from any country, and no one should be treated that way. From the reporter to the greeting to the mocking of his clothes, it was beneath America and beneath the White House to treat a guest in our country and a leader who is actively engaged in combat, who is right now losing his fellow service members, who's losing his women and children. His cities are being bombed. And we're talking about his clothes, and we're talking to him that way. It was victim shaming, which is what Trump has been doing to Zelensky in Ukraine since before he got elected. It's unacceptable, it's inappropriate, and it's also undermining not just Ukraine, but our own national security. We are now aligned with the bad guys. Russia is the bad guy, Ukraine is the good guy. And when we continue to attack Ukraine and defend Russia, that puts us in line with the bad guys, which is not where America wants to be.
Well, it's very clear, Pete, of the American allegiances, because that's what it kind of seems like.
Well, actually, I want to weigh in on the clothing. I know you're trying to distract us from it, but
Okay,
I do.
wait,
I do.
no,
I do. No, but this is why. No, this is
Smart
why.
conversation.
Let me do that.
Hang on a second.
Hold on. Let me
Weigh in on the
You
clothing,
came at me,
but
so
do
I'm going to
answer my
respond.
question.
But as an alum of the George W. Bush White House, I have an old-fashioned view of this and a pretty hard line. Tie, jacket, no jeans, Oval Office. That's where I stand on this. But if we're going, hold. Can you let me finish?
Thank you.
Because that's exactly what I was about to say.
You didn't even show him in a
If we're going to
t-shirt.
have,
how
going
Zelensky
to
felt.
criticize
Well played.
President Zelensky for what he's wearing, then we should also criticize Elon Musk for wearing a hat and a T-shirt
Tell it to
in the
Donald
Oval
Trump
Office.
and J.D. Vance. So
I just did.
You're being consistent, but the White House isn't being consistent, and they have no credibility to talk about decorum. I mean, the reason why this question was asked is because this so-called reporter from One American News was there. Why was this person even in the room? Why was there a reporter from the Russian news agency TASS, state media from Russia, in the room in the Oval Office? That's what I'm talking about when I talk about the incompetence of this administration, and yet you can't have the Associated Press there because Trump doesn't like them because they won't refer to the
I've actually escorted media into the Oval Office. It was part of my job.
I know,
and
but
you know it
because
is
we don't
absolute
care. Hold on a
chaos
second.
when the foreign media is there.
If you can't control whether the Russian news agency is allowed to come into the Oval Office, one of the most protected spaces in the country, then you don't have the moral credibility or even the intellectual ability to be able to run the White
Pete,
House.
I want you to answer the substance of what Paul just said. He said this is victim blaming, victim shaming of Ukraine, which is the victim in this whole dynamic. What's your response to that?
I just we talked about this for 2 segments prior to you coming out here,
and I saw it.
Yeah, I'm sure you did.
Yeah,
and President Zelensky was the instigator in this conversation.
You are absolutely wrong, and you are perpetuating the propaganda of
That
Russia.
wasn't propaganda. He interjected himself.
I'm
That
offended
wasn't
by
propaganda.
that. I'm absolutely
I am offended by what you say and how you present this entire situation. I'm an alumni of
You're offended that the United States wants to negotiate
I'm an alumni
an
of
end
the
to the
United
war.
States Army. That's what I'm an alumni of. And millions of veterans around this country saw that today on our outrage of all backgrounds because of the way it was conducted,
who saw it,
and because
and
there are
who saw
people like you who are
president.
standing with Putin instead of with America.
That's not standing with Putin to say that Zelensky shouldn't have opened his mouth. Why did Zelensky ask J.D. Vance a question? So
I don't want to go into a fight with any of you about my side.
But why did you ask him a conversation?
Just like
no one
Zelensky interjected himself into,
and you are selling out.
Jenna, please stop talking. Okay, everybody is talking at the same time.
I am fine with my statements.
Guys, everybody is talking at the same time. That does not work. Okay, we cannot hear a word you are saying. I understand there are, a lot of very high emotions about this topic, but please, one at a time. Okay, look, Jenna, I know you were trying to say something, so you can continue.
It is imperative that you understand that when they invited Zelensky into this space, which was in front of cameras and Marjorie Taylor Greene's boyfriend, that there was okay, we are going to be in an open dialogue. We've watched Trump day after day. Yesterday, he had British representatives who he was putting on the spot and also telling them, oh, that's enough. Don't continue to talk about that when it was in relation to Canada. This is a stage, a theater that he has created. It is an invitation when you ask somebody to sit in that seat. It is bullying at its most shallow capacity. If I found out my 7-year-old son was making fun of somebody for what they were wearing on the playground, we would have some very
I didn't defend the wardrobe.
Hold on a second.
I did not say that.
Hold on a second.
Didn't attack what he had on.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second. This was absolute bait from J.D. Vance, who was pomp and circumstancing. You owe us this kind of decorum. My background is in foreign policy. I was at the UN for years. I understand the theatrics of foreign policy. This was disgusting. We have regressed decades. This is the most significant thing to happen between U.S. and Europe since the fall of the Berlin Wall. And you want to talk about suits. You want to talk about who interrupted who.
Yeah, because it's actually relevant.
But hold on
because
a
it's
second.
actually
Hold on.
relevant.
And I also I have a question for you. I have a question for you.
Well,
You kept
you're
saying-
the one who said that. You said this. Now we can talk about the fact that
Let me ask you a
Zelensky
question.
interjected
Jenna,
himself
guys,
into that.
Jenna,
You
just
can't
a
just
second.
ignore it as
Guys,
if it's
we're going to
nothing.
continue this
It was
conversation
something.
in just a minute, so stay with me. We'll be back in a moment.